Trust Board of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. And on my own behalf, I wish to welcome all of you to the Labadi Beach Hotel and to especially welcome our colleagues who are joining us on Zoom, as well as those joining us on YouTube and other social media platforms. We are grateful for your participation and encourage you to listen attentively to all the presentations. Note your questions when we get to the Q&A session. You can actually send your questions ahead to the various handles that have been provided. And we do hope you enjoy these sessions. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amoati. I think we can do it better. At this point, I would invite the cultural troupe to give us a musical interlude, then we can continue, please. Thank you very much, the Palm Wine Cultural Troupe, for that wonderful rendition. Permit me to introduce one other dignitary we have in our midst. We have Mr. Michael Lamte in our midst. He is the Deputy Head of Pension and Insurance Unit, Financial Sector Division, Ministry of Finance. He's representing the Chief Director of the Ministry of Finance. At this point, I would invite our dignitaries, starting with Dr. Patrick Kumabuaji, to give us a brief remark. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and good morning all. Very beautiful music. Sometimes makes you forget that you are the next speaker. The Honorable Deputy Minister, Tina Mensah, Honorable Tina Mensah of Health, the Deputy Minister for Employment and Labor Relations, Honorable Bright Rekunbrobe, Chairman of Health Service Occupational Pension Scheme Board, Dr. Derek Ejapon, our labor unions present here, Perpetua Ofurian Pofu, the majority leader, that's what we call her. In my area, she's the majority leader. Ladies and gentlemen, our online participants, members of the media, almost 2 decades ago, discussions on pension reforms in Ghana started, and government, following incessant complaints of the unfairness and inadequate fiscal space in the administration of the 2 major but parallel pension schemes in the country, that is the CAP 30 and Senate, established a presidential commission on pensions in 2004, which commission 2 years later submitted a report to the government. Ladies and gentlemen, among other things, the Presidential Commission on Pension in its report emphatically concluded that hitherto pension schemes did not allow for adequate and sustainable income security. The team subsequently proposed that the government propose a 3-tier pension structure comprising 2 mandatory schemes and a voluntary scheme. The establishment of the National Pension Regulatory Authority to regulate both public and private pension schemes in the country. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, following a period of teething implementation challenges, I am happy to know that the pension reform landscape has stabilized, have begun bearing fruits, and calls for renewed dialogue on what the role of the trustees are in sustaining the growth of the pensions fund. I am therefore happy to be here this morning to join the MAIDEN Annual General Meeting of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme, which seeks to deepen the conversation on the role of trustees in the sustainable growth of the pension funds. As Director General and also as the largest employer in the health sector, I commit in my own small way to sustain the growth of our pension reforms by ensuring the unfailing deduction of contributions of my over 100,000 permanent staff and those in the temporary appointment as well. We are also trying to get those in temporary appointees to make contribution. Be that as may, it is expected that these assured mandatory tier 2 deductions are judiciously invested in the trustees to ensure retirement incomes security for the worker. It is my sincere hope, ladies and gentlemen, that the fallout from this AGM will reassure the constituency I represent, i.e. the teeming health workers of the sector, of the sacred vow of the health sector occupational power pension scheme in sustaining the growth of our pension funds. I thank you for the opportunity to be here and look forward to recommendations from this AGM. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaji, for assuring members of your continuous support. At this point, we'll take a brief remark or speech from Honorable Deputy Minister for Employment and Labor Relations, Dr. Reku Broby.
The MC keeps promoting me. I'm not a doctor. At best, you can call me the Honorable. I stand for elections and I get voted for, at least. Mr. Chairman, Dr. Derek Amwatin, the Honorable Deputy Minister for Health, Honorable Tina, a good friend, Director General, Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaji, Directors and Heads of Health Agencies and Regulators, the Chairman and members of the Board of Trustees, Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme, our service providers, leadership of health trade unions and professional associations, distinguished invited guests, our friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. I am glad I'm able to join you on this august occasion of the MAIDEN Annual General Meeting of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. The scheme, since its establishment about a decade ago, has witnessed tremendous growth in membership and pension fund assets, with significant contribution to the pensions industry. As I speak, the pensions industry today boasts of over 345 service providers that collectively manage an estimated 40 billion Ghana cedis pension fund assets. This is quite significant, considering the fact that only a small proportion of the working population are enrolled onto the three-tier pension scheme. I therefore consider it a great privilege to address you on behalf of my minister, the Honorable Ignatius Bafewa, who would have wished to be here, but had to be somewhere else for good reason, so that I delivered this address for him to have delivered the address in person, but he has to attend to these important, equally important obligations. Mr. Chairman, there's no doubt that today's annual general meeting reaffirms a strong collaboration between government and industry players to provide decent pensions for workers. The provision of pensions is of economic and social importance, as it guarantees retirement security. It is refreshing to note that the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme is the first Tier 2 public sector scheme to organize this august ceremony, bringing together all workers within the health fraternity. This is commendable, and I join other speakers to congratulate the Board of Trustees, past and current, for this historic breakthrough. As a scheme, you have set the pace and laid a solid foundation on which we can build on from today. This, I am convinced, will inspire other public sector occupational pension schemes to follow suit to enhance transparency and accountability in the management of pensions. As we celebrate this important milestone of the scheme, we should not be oblivious of the fact that the day also presents a unique opportunity to take stock of how the scheme has performed and make informed decisions to steer the affairs of the scheme for the foreseeable future. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it bears repeating that health workers anywhere in the world are indispensable, and therefore providing decent conditions of service for them is non-negotiable. Governments, since time immemorial, have always been preoccupied with improving the welfare and well-being of all health workers. These include the creation of robust healthcare systems, provision of the state-of-the-art infrastructure and facilities. At least, one was just commissioned some 2 days ago in Asante Achim, and you all saw it if you didn't attend on telly, so that we are trying our best to provide state-of-art infrastructure and facilities. There's also the availability of adequate healthcare financing and personnel, and as you also bear me out, the collaboration between the Ministry of Health and the Youth Employment Agency to get you not health workers per se in their skillful field, but to assist you in the work you do, mostly in our rural communities. All these are to enable the sector deliver beyond expectations. Many a time, the working conditions of health workers leave much to be desired. Government acknowledges the difficult challenges health workers face, and concerted efforts have also been made to reverse this trend. This entails enhancing job-related allowances, addressing housing issues, and providing adequate pension benefits for staff, among other concerns. I wish to reiterate that the nation is overwhelmingly grateful to all health workers for your commitment and dedication in the fight against COVID-19, where against all odds, you made every effort to ensure we overcome this deadly pandemic. Mr. Chairman, indeed, we are all witnesses to the challenges confronting the global economy, with dire consequences for achieving sound macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability. Ghana, likewise the rest of the world, is experiencing severe global shocks, owing largely to unforeseen circumstances. As a government, we are more than determined to navigate these challenges and put the economy on a path of steady progress and prosperity. Pensions serve as a safe haven to secure the economic and financial livelihood of workers and their families. In these critical times, more collaboration is required to safeguard pension funds and ensure retirement income security for workers. This annual general meeting should engender consensus building around happenings on the pensions front vis-à-vis the global economic realities. We owe it a duty to ensure that no retiree is worse off or suffer unjustly in the current situation. The Board of Trustees has a greater responsibility to fashion out innovative approaches that would maximize investment returns of members' contributions. The Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to use this platform to urge members of the Health Services Occupational Pension Scheme to sensitize our brothers and sisters who operate in the informal economy and do not have access to any pension scheme. Informal economy operators should be encouraged to take advantage of the three-tier pension scheme to ensure their retirement security. This will help alleviate old age poverty and help cushion them in times like these. We have to recognize that government cannot do it all alone without the combined efforts of all stakeholders. As I bring my address to a close, I wish to emphasize the importance of strengthening the governance and management of pensions. As the Oversight Ministry, we encourage regular capacity building programs for Board of Trustees and industry players of the three-tier pension scheme. These capacity building programs are necessary to adequately equip you with the requisite knowledge, skills, and competences in the management of pensions. This will not only inure to your performance as Board of Trustees, but also go a long way to positively impact the corporate governance of the scheme. Lastly, government is in the process of undertaking certain critical reforms to strengthen regulation of the pension industry to guarantee decent pensions for all. These reforms are aimed at, 1, improving equity and removing disincentives, reducing administrative costs, maintaining and improving investment performance, and improving pensions coverage across the sectors. While government does so, I wish to urge the Board of Trustees of the Health Services Occupational Pension Scheme to also undertake expansion of your services equally across the country so that those in the rural areas can benefit and have access to the services you offer, i.e., getting offices in the regions, getting offices in the districts, so that matters that they need to have, issues that they need to grasp, questions that they need to have answers, will be delivered to them on time. Through these efforts, we will be able to collectively build a sound and robust pension regime that supports economic growth and national development. I thank you for your attention.
A big round of applause again for Mr. Bryce Rekubrobe, our Deputy Minister for Employment and Labor Relations. I think he's left us with an assignment that we should all be evangelists and make sure that the message goes out there and we get as many Ghanaians taking steps to prepare for their retirement. At this point, I'll require the Palm Wine Cultural Group to give us a musical interlude. Then we will take the last remark from Deputy Minister. Thank you.
Ago. When we call Ago, please you can respond with Amen. Ago. We call this one Insejasim Komo. So whenever our elders meet, there is palm wine. Today we are the palm wine because you are the Legon palm wine man. But if you also say, "Ya no monsano, near far dream." It's yes, you more yet what to a dream. You can ever to a dream. A penny for what's in us. Nana no matter ne gweb. Adofo yeshi. Adofo yeshi. A man in Merima and eh, ye dear home come on. And you muy nature gui and say dear Biniha. Now more train ye, Brahma ye near home come on. Yes, a jassem como, Brahma ye near home como. Yes, a jassem como, ye no monsa, na ye fadri. Debbie, I say, yes, she say, yeah. A Jumamusam and a Yakan. Now, Yababe, a Jumanariana, Yakoji, a woman. Edian Bear, Yedebe boy, Yentianisha Mugesi, I abe. Yabajini, a pension munsem, now more chain, ye, Ramayeni, a home, come on. Yes, a jassem, come on. Ramayeni, a home, come on. Yes, a jassem, come on. Ya no monsa, na ye fadri. Yes, a jassem, come on. Ramayeni, a home, come on. Yes, a jassem, come on. Ya no monsa, na ye fadri. Nana Jaman. What to a dream, a for me. You listen, your baby to me a 2 pound. Yakan Abra woman self, and you have Wawa your home. It's your name, so I am Shemukasi. Yet no one say, you better dream what's it. Yes, a jassem, come on, Ramayeni, a home, come on. Yes, a jassem, come on. Ya no monsa, na ye fadri. Yes, a jassem, come on. Ramayeni, a home, come on. Yes, a jassem, come on. Ya no monsa, na ye fadri. Yes, a jassem, come on. Ramayeni, a home, come on. Yes, a jassem, come on. Ya no monsa, na ye fadri.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Palm Wine Cultural Troupe. We are still on the MAIDEN Annual General Meeting of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. At this point, I would humbly invite Honorable Tina Mensah, our Deputy Minister of Health, who is representing the Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to everyone. I read this speech on behalf of my minister, Honorable Kukwaju Menu, who is on a duty outside the country. So he has asked me to step in for him. So every word here is his word, not my word. Mr. Chairman, Dr. Derek Amwatin, my colleague Deputy Minister for Employment and Labor Relations, Honorable Bright Rekubrobe, Director General Ghana Health Service, Dr. Kuma Abuaji, Chief Directors of various ministries, Chief Executive National Pension Regulatory Authority, Chief Executives of Teaching Hospitals, Directors of Health Agencies and Regulators, the President, GRNMA, Madam Perpetua Ampofo, Trustees, Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme and Service Providers of the scheme, Trustees of other public sector occupational pension scheme, leaders of health trade unions and professional associations, our online participants, distinguished invited guests, the media, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by extending a warm greetings from the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the entire Ministry of Health and its agencies to you. We wish to congratulate the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme for organizing the first ever annual general meeting in the Tier 2 pensions industry in Ghana. Indeed, you are the best and really the first in the industry. Extending this invite is a clear demonstration of the cordial relationship that exists between the Ministry of Health and the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. I must admit that being part of such a grand family gathering as this is an honor and indeed an opportunity for me to reach out to my children as a father of the health sector. We acknowledge the earnest contribution, inexorable support, commitment, and dedication being invested by the members of the scheme towards attaining the country's overarching goal of delivering good health care to its citizenry and beyond by securing good pension. The occasion taking place here today shows the value the scheme places on transparency and regulation for stakeholders and owners of the scheme. I acknowledge the objective of organizing this AGM is to afford members the opportunity to understand how the scheme is being run. It is also to inform the public of the challenges and highlight on its achievements. Dr. Chairman, I also want to commend the leadership of the scheme for how far they have steered the affairs of the scheme and the successes achieved over the years. Taking inspiration from Peter Lane, I quote, "In the long run, it is not how much money you make that determines your future prosperity, but how much of that money you put to work by saving it and investing it," unquote. As an advice to the members of the scheme, it is important that savings is done before spending, otherwise there will be nothing to save after consumption. If you save money today, money will save you tomorrow. For which reason I encourage all members of the health sector to take keen interest and be active members of the scheme, because the fund will fundamentally strive on the contributions and vigilance of members. I also urge leadership of the scheme to put in place all the necessary measures to protect the monies of members by diversifying the portfolio to minimize risk and investment losses. Dr. Chairman, coupled with everything said, the Ministry of Health believes that quality health care delivery could be promoted only through hard work, unity, teamwork, enhanced patient safety, stress reduction of workloads, and ensuring better retirement for members cannot be overemphasized. Again, I wish to encourage leadership of the scheme to collaborate with unions, professional associations, and all other social partners to educate members and adapt efficient leadership and management systems to continue maintaining the investments of scheme members. Dr. Chairman, based on recent reports on claim processing difficulties retirees undergo in their attempt to claim their entitlement upon retirement, I urge the board to liaise with the administrators and all relevant stakeholders to educate their members on claim procedure to forestall such unfortunate occurrences in the future. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to conclude by urging all health sector stakeholders to let teamwork and unity be a cardinal principle as we continue to be prudent investment to grow members' funds. Let me take this opportunity to thank the trustees for organizing such an event, and I urge the other public sector schemes to emulate such a move. Dr. Chairman, on this note, I wish you a successful annual general meeting and would like to add that every important event marks another milestone in our quest to institutionalize and take advantage of the benefit. God bless the health sector occupational pension scheme. God bless the MOH and its agencies. God bless Mother Ghana. God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Tina Mensah. I think we can do better. Let's please give it to her. If for nothing at all, one thing I picked up strongly in her presentation, if you save money today, money will save you tomorrow. On that note, I would invite the Palm Wine Cultural Group to give us a musical interlude.
We are back again. Save money today, and money will save you tomorrow. Who do you want to wear now? Yo, one of this year, when you said I'm with you, can we go away? Oh, Mama, be our send your mind if you're too far. Never walk on the new or the 40 hour tour. Then 2 I came. If you want to do a baby, say you might wait. So what you must now I get the answer. Who say, what's your name? I said, what you must shop. Now, fast or yet, church of Wabia, what to answer by a kid to me. So I said, to I can see, and the end to a kid to you. And no one near the old my or why don't you come on. And so I can take it, and so come on. Well, you are not easy. And so I can take it, and so come on. And you want to see it here, and the end, you'll say, hey, and so I can take it, and so come on. Another man. So I can take it, and so I will so come on. And so I can take it, and so I will so come on. And so I can take it,
Thank you very much. On that humorous note, we would want to invite a few of the service providers. The trustees have been doing a lot of work, but they've not been doing it alone. They have some service providers that they've been working with, and on such an occasion, they cannot ignore, they cannot forget them, to give them a minute each to say a few words to the stakeholders for which they serve them. They serve. Thank you.
So I would invite Mr. Joseph Ampafo, who is the MD for Enterprise Trustees.
Good morning, all. All protocols observed. Sometime in the middle of 2012, after a very vigorous selection process, Enterprise Trustees became the administrators of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. Together with the board and other service providers, we have grown the scheme assets, all geared towards the overall objective of improving retirement outcomes for public health sector workers. Enterprise Trustees, as administrators of the scheme, is really proud to be here. I am particularly glad to see this day where the scheme increases its mandate of accountability to its members by organizing this AGM. And like has been said before, the very first from the public sector schemes. Let's not forget that this board also launched the very first website for public sector schemes back at GS Plaza. And I remember at that meeting as well, they were applauded for having to raise the level of accountability to its members. The scheme is one of the most vibrant schemes we as administrators work with. We work with quite a number. But the expertise and the intense nature within which they engage us always keep us on our toes. In collaboration with the board, we have been able to deliver certain solutions which help in the administration. And therefore, SMS notifications go to members anytime controller makes payments, as well as the hostels do their IGF payments. And also an online portal where members can be able to view wherever they are, anywhere in Ghana or even outside Ghana. And lately, we also identified the fact that we needed to reach every nook and cranny within this country, and therefore launched what we call the Pensions Express, which is a mobile service which goes from town to town to be able to engage health workers all over the place, all in a bid to improve upon enrollment and education. I wish to thank the Board of Trustees for the trust that they have imposed on us to prudently manage the administration of the scheme. And it's a fervent hope that we'll continue to lift up our game such that as health workers retire, they will retire with a smile, knowing that we have been able to manage the assets of their contributions and give them a far better retirement. So on behalf of all of us at Enterprise, we'd like to say Ayiko to the board, and to you health workers, please continue to save more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ampofo, for that brief statement. Indeed, this is a very vibrant and knowledgeable board. Somebody once asked me not to, the person was quite specific and said, is Dr. Yankson an investment banker or is a medical doctor? Because when we meet at the table and when you engage and you see the level of knowledge that the board members espouse in the engagement, then you begin to ask yourself, am I talking to doctors and nurses and pharmacists, or I'm talking to people who have investment background? But that's the sort of board that the membership have. At this point, I will invite Madam Nan Opoku from Calbank to give us a brief remark.
Good morning, all. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol established. Thank you. Calbank PLC is one of the leading Ghanaian banks committed to deliver excellent service to all valued customers. The bank commenced operations in July 1990. We're always willing and excited to provide satisfying solutions to help any challenge faced by businesses, corporate institutions, individuals, and the government. Our bank's presence can be found in 8 regions with 34 branches across the country. More branches are intended to be set up in the coming years. Other convenient digital platforms and channels have been provided to complement the brick and mortar in our quest to make banking more convenient than ever before. As the custodian for this esteemed public sector occupational pension fund, that is health sector occupational pension, it has always been our delight to support all the service providers, and more especially the Board of Trustees, in delivering an excellent service in the best interest of the hard-working health workers, so as to enjoy a rewarding retirement. In accordance with the tenets of the National Pensions Act 2008, Act 766 as amended, the primary role of the custodian is to safeguard the assets of the scheme. Strict and tight measures have been instituted by the board to ensure that at all material times, the assets of the scheme are safe. Thus, only instructions that have been duly approved by the board are carried out. Regular reports, such as monthly, quarterly, yearly, are submitted to the board unfailingly. These are to assist the board discharge its statutory and regulatory duties and responsibilities effectively and efficiently. These reports are always rigorously scrutinized by the board and its auditors, including the scheme administrator, to ensure that the assets of each of these gallant workers are safe. Copies of these reports are also made available to the regulator to enhance proper corporate governance structure, all in the interest of the contributors' well-being. All the assets under our custody have been duly insured with reputable and regulated insurance companies, and therefore, should Bank one day go under, and I don't pray it happen because they now have a job, but should it happen, please be assured that your assets shall not in any way be affected. They are very safe. We hereby pledge to you, the contributors, and your respected Board of Trustees, our continuous support towards the growth and safety of your assets at all material times. Long live Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. Long live the Board of Trustees of Health Sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nanopoku. On that note of assurance, and I know she's a lawyer, and she used the word shall not. She didn't say may not, shall not, and that's very strong. So I think that gives us a lot of assurance that we are safe. On that note, I would invite the CEO, Nana Safu from Bora Capital, to give us his brief remark.
Good morning. And Dr. Chair, I wish, with your kind permission, stand on the existing protocols, so all protocols duly observed. It's been an honor for a very young Ghanaian company to act as the pension fund managers. And we are grateful for the opportunity given to us over a little bit over 2 years now. We've worked with a team. We've been taxed, as Joe said. We've really been taxed by the set of trustees that you have to get approval from anytime you need to invest money. They will ask all the necessary questions. Sometimes you don't know whether, as he said, Youngson is actually an investment banker like myself, or he's a lawyer, like my dear lady there. But it's been an honor working with the team, and we are grateful to be acting. We see this scheme on daily basis as people who work in the service sector every day saving towards their future, building legacies as they grow old. So the team, the management team at Bora, we go to work each day knowing that every simple decision that we make is helping or building somebody's future. And we don't take that for granted. Each day, we don't leave money on the table. You have to analyze, and know that you are giving the best advice before you send that letter to the trustees for approval. And so, I want to assure each one and all of you that we will continue to do that work so that when we see ourselves in old age, it will not be the investment bankers who are smiling, but also every pensioner that contributed to the scheme have that assurance that Bora will do our job as required. On that note, I want to congratulate you on being the first, the MAIDEN AGM, and we wish you fruitful discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nana. We'll take the last brief remark from the last service provider, that is Delta Capital. We have the CEO, Victor Owusu, with us.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Chairman, I would like to request for all protocols observed. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, it is a privilege to speak as a fund manager for one of the biggest pension schemes in the country, and also one of the well-managed pension schemes in the country right now. And Mr. Chairman, Delta Capital has enjoyed working as a service provider for health sector occupational pension scheme. And we've been on board for 4 years. We came on board December 2018, and as at that time, the portfolio that was given to us to manage was about 170 million. And Mr. Chairman, by the end of December 2021, the portfolio has grown from 170 million to about 800 million. And as at the end of 2022, September, we have gone past over 1 billion. That is the portfolio that Delta alone is managing. And we have been challenged all these years by a dedicated board of trustees who demand high results from the fund managers. And as my colleague has already indicated, we commend you. We urge you to continue with your dedicated work that you have put in place to ensure that this scheme has come to this far. Mr. Chairman, we are delighted to say that the scheme is growing and is in full regulatory compliance. And we, as a fund managers, we assure the board of directors of our continual performance to ensure that the scheme is secured and it grows for the benefit of the contributors in the future. In other words, one of the key objectives of setting up Tier 2 pension scheme is to ensure that retirement income security of the contributors is assured. And I want to indicate that this scheme is in full compliance with that objective. And I would like to end here by saying thank you to the Board of Trustees for giving us the opportunity for Delta Capital to associate ourselves with Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Victor. We will take a musical interlude from Palm Wine Cultural Troupe, but before that, Honorable Deputy Minister of Health has an equally pressing appointment she needs to attend to. She will leave us and we will continue the program. Okay. I'm being informed, I think it's not only her who is leaving, but the others also have some appointment that they need to attend to. So they will leave and we'll continue with the second session. But before they leave, we'll want to have a group picture of all the dignitaries, please, before they leave. I think the Board of Trustees can join the dignitaries. In the second session, we'll introduce the Board of Trustee members of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme properly. Thank you very much. So this brings us to the end of the part one. We will shortly start the business session. Thank you very much, Pamuan Cultural Troupe, for that musical interlude. At this point, we are going to start with the business session for the program, and we'll start by taking a message from the board chairman, Dr. Derek Amwating.
Okay. Can you have the slides, please? Okay. So good morning once again. Dear valued members of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme, leaders of the various unions and associations, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to welcome all of you once again to this maiden AGM of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. On behalf of the Trust Board, I wish to thank you all for your collaborations and your continued support for the scheme over the years. The maiden AGM is under the theme, Sustaining the Growth of Pension Fund, the role of trustees. And I will begin with an overview of the economy within which the fund has operated in the year under review, and then we'll go on to proceed to the performance. So let's start with a look at the global economic review. Okay, can you start sharing the slides, please? Okay. Global turmoil with the emergence of the new variant of COVID-19 strain prolonging the efforts that had been put in place by the whole world to beat COVID-19. The global economy also suffered many problems with significant headwinds amid the new waves of COVID-19 infections, together with all the persistent labor market challenges, the lingering supply chain challenges, and the rising inflationary pressures that face the economy globally. There were somewhat positive developments which resulted in the opening up of the economy. And some of these positive developments include the worldwide accessibility to vaccines. We know that in the year 2021, a lot of vaccines came into the world, of which Ghana was no exception. The availability of rapid test kits, also the availability of new knowledge and treatment modalities for COVID-19, which all worked together in concert to reduce the burden posed by the dreadful pandemic, which had bedeviled the world in the past couple of years. According to the IMF, inflation stood at according to the IMF, the world economy grew by 5.9%, which was a recovery from the 4.9% which we saw in the year 2020. The rise being largely as a result of rising opening up of the economy. Also, we had the rising global energy prices as well as supply chain disruptions due to COVID-19. And this all resulted in higher and more broad-based Fortunately, in 2021, there was a sharp, strong recovery, right from 0.4% in 2020. It came 21, and we know that this V-shaped recovery was due to the high commodity prices and the resumption of full economic activities that happened in the year under review. Headline inflation also went up from 9.9, which was seen in the year 2020, to as high as 12.6%. Of course, I shudder to talk about inflation today. The increase was driven by both food and non-food inflation, both food and non-food items, including housing, fuel, and then utility prices that went very high within the period. In spite of this interest rates continue to remain low in the year 2021. Now I want to talk about the scheme. We want to go straight to talk about the scheme. And I'll talk first about the Board of Trustees. The scheme was overseen by a 15-member Board of Trustees for the period 2021. And of this, there was no change over the period under review. The 15-member had been the same board that was overseen in the year 2020. Then we go to benefit payment. Benefit payment. In terms of benefit payment, the trustees started paying mass benefits in the year 2020 with a total payment of about 9 million, of about 9.7 million in 2020. But in 2021, it actually went up significantly to 27.7 million. Following a comprehensive process, the scheme, the Trust Board put in place to be able to overcome all bottlenecks and start paying to the retirees, or the retirees, yes. In all, a total of 1,721 members received their pension benefits in 2021. Yes. Then, when it comes to asset allocation, the Board of Trustees of the scheme continue to comply with the asset allocation mix guidelines provided by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, and then its own scheme's statement of investment policy. And it's worth noting that the scheme complied fully with NPRA investment guidelines and suffered no sanctions in the year under review. Overall, the assets within the portfolio were allocated with a mindset to preserve the fund value, to minimize risk, and at the same time obtain an optimal return above inflation. Details of asset allocation can be found in the annual report that have been provided to you and has been published on the website as well, so that all members watching us virtually can go in and look at it. Now we'll go to investment performance. The scheme, which had a humble beginning in 2012 with an asset under management of 2,040, mainly from IGF staff contribution, has grown to over 2.1 billion cedis at the end of 2021. 2021. At the end of the year, the scheme's AUM, which was made up of contributions received from controller, as well as the IGF, and then the TPFA, the Temporary Pension Fund account, as transferred, together with returns made on these, stood at 2.1 billion cedis, compared to the previous year end position of about 1.6 billion cedis. The change over the period therefore translates to 485 million Ghana cedis, representing about 30% growth for the year under review. On a yearly basis, the scheme continues to earn impressive return on the fund, such that in 2021, the scheme recorded about 345 million cedis as investment gains alone. And I think that is worth mentioning. Okay. This gain constituted about 21.5% nominal return, which was far above the trustees' set benchmark. The scheme had a net return of about 18.7% in the year under review. We'll look at scheme membership. With regards to the membership of the scheme on the monthly basis, we saw people joining right from the IGF staff as well as from controller, as new people were employed into the health sector. In 2021, about 54,815 new members joined the scheme, and some 1,721 members also exited the scheme, either through compulsory retirement, early retirement, porting out to other schemes, or unfortunately death. The total membership of the scheme stood at 174,959 at the end of 2021, representing a 19% increase from the previous year. Now let me look at a few activities the scheme undertook in the course of the year under review. Yes. In addition to the many things we have said previously, during the year under review, many activities were undertaken by the scheme. One, improving KYC and member on board, as well as beneficiary nomination processes. One major issue we have seen over the period is that members, even though we get contributions coming in, a lot of the members have not formally on board, and we do not have details to be able to reach out to them. And so in the year under review, we had a massive program to be able to reach out to as many as possible. And within the period, we had so many people on board as well. Also, development of a new scheme statement of investment policy to ensure a smooth implementation and compliance with the latest NPR investment guideline that was gazetted in the year 2021. I mean, even before the guidelines were gazetted, a committee had been put in place, and they went to work immediately. It was gazetted, and we have our own statement of investment policy, which is in line with what NPRA has proposed. Then we also undertook intensive nationwide member education, which we will talk about in the last session. Several places were reached in this education. I must state here that in addition to this education, we also have the website, which is very active, www.HSOPSGhana.com. We also have a USSD code *714*333#, which was also active, which people can actually use to be able to reach out to us and then check their statements as well as transact other businesses. Then there was also an aggressive nationwide IGF facility enrollment. In order to be able to enroll IGF staff, we needed to enroll the facilities. And in the year under review, together with the pension express vans that were made available by ETL, we were able to enroll several facilities as well as the IGF staff in the process. And then lastly, we've been able to equip our secretariat to be fully functioning. And as I speak, there's a secretariat that has been opened in Kumasi, which will start operations on the 1st of November 2022. Just a few challenges, and then I would bring my session to a close. I cannot end without mentioning a few of these challenges that we go through. And the first one is what I have. It's actually our main issue. It has to do with payment, delays in payment of monthly contributions to the scheme, both from the IGF facilities and the Controller and Accountant General's Department. And because of the delays that have accrued over the period, it's its negative impact on the future pensions of pensioners. The scheme set out to engage both NPRA government and all other stakeholders to be able to retrieve these funds that were in arrears. And fortunately, that for 2021 has been paid in full as I speak. Now, pension management is all about data, and without appropriate data, it's always difficult to properly manage and process the process. There are still many contributors with incomplete data in our system, and because of that, it is difficult to process them and to be able to engage with them. By this, I am encouraging all members to go through to the nearest ET Enterprise Trustees office or to the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme office at Zoti in Accra, as well as the Kumasi office, or the website, HSOPSGhana.com, to be able to complete the enrollment and benefit nomination forms so that it will be easy to process your data when necessary. Now, additionally, the TPFA database is still yet to be finalized. We have gone very far with all the engagement with the help of the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. But there is still some bottlenecks to be crossed to be able to finalize the report. And we want to encourage the various stakeholders to help to be able to finalize the work on TPFA and put it behind us. Lastly, there are still many facilities who have employees but are not paying their Tier 2 pensions. And we want to state here that this is in direct contravention of the National Pensions Act 766 as amended. We want to reach out to you, as we have been doing, to encourage you to do so, because very soon NPRA has shown direction that very soon they will be coming to facilities, and some of these facilities will be prosecuted and closed down. We want to encourage facility managers here and who are hearing us to be able to take this and make sure they properly enroll and pay contributions of their members. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the year 2021, though turbulent, recorded very positive outcomes in the scheme. And we are hopeful that the trajectory that has been chalked in 2021 will continue in the year 2022, irrespective of the economic challenges that confront the economy of Ghana and the world at large. By all standards, this is a tough environment to maximize returns while mitigating the risk of default. And the Board of Trustees will continue to oversee the task of striking the right balance between the opportunities and risk to ensure it achieves its overall objective of preserving scheme members' contributions and then adding value to it, as well as paying lump sum to them ultimately on retirement in the light of allowable regulation. To end, I'd like to express my sincere appreciation to the Board of Trustees. You have been very helpful and supportive, and all service providers, as well as the MAIDEN Secretariat led by our sister Gifty, for their role in ensuring the smooth running of the scheme. To our cherished members, thank you for your support over the years. We look forward to continuous growth of the scheme in the coming year as we work to ensure retirement income security for all members. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Derek Amwating. At this point, I would hand over to Mrs. Perpetua Furiampofo, who would take us through the remaining activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, McLean, for a good job done. I'll continue from where he left off. Once again, you are welcome to the HSOPS AGM. And the HSOPS, we pronounce it as HSOPS. HSOPS. And when we say HSOPS, you say retire with a smile. HSOPS. Exactly. Thank you. So at this time, I think throughout the presentations, you've been hearing Board of Trustees, and you're even wondering, are they here? Who are they? So I'm going to introduce the Board of Trustees of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. And then you have all seen the chairman, but I'm going to introduce him again. So Dr. Derek Amoateng, who is the board chair, is a medical doctor, and he practices at Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Following from him in no particular order, I'm going to introduce them, or introduce trustees based on where they are seated. So the next person is Mr. Gayton Adangabe. He is the chief physiotherapist at Ghana Health Service, and he's a member of the board. We also have Mr. Alexander Che, Kweku Che, in fact, and he is a union representative. He represents Health Services Workers Union of TUC, or Ghana TUC, and he's a member of the board. We also have Mr. Emmanuel Apia. Mr. Emmanuel Apia is also a union representative, and he's the president of the Ghana Physicians Association, Physicians Assistants Association. Please, let's put our hands together for him. We also have Mr. Hamidu Andakurugu. He is a government representative, and he is the director, legal and administration of the Ministry of Health. Please, let's put our hands together for him. We also have Mr. Oscarius Emisa, who is also a union representative and represents GOSPA on the board. Please, let's put our hands together for him. We also have Dr. Opoku Edusei, Kwabena Opoku Edusei. I have to add the Kwabena. So, in short, it's Kopa. Kwabena Opoku Edusei is Kopa, Dr. Kopa. So, Dr. Kopa is the rector of the College of Health and Well-being at Kintampo, and he is the vice chairman of the board. Please, let's put our hands together for him. He's also a union representative. He's followed by Dr. Justice Yankson, who is a medical doctor, a lawyer, everything, and he's also a medical practitioner at the Family Medicine Department of Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. He's followed by my own General Secretary, Mr. David Tinkran Chum, who is the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, and also a union representative and a member of the board. We also have Mr. Andrews Ablobi, who is the independent trustee of the board, and he is a lecturer at GAMPA and UPSA. So he is a whistleblower. He ensures that everything goes right on the board. If it doesn't, he will be the first to draw attention that this is not the required, it doesn't sit with the law or all that. That is his responsibility. We also have Mrs. Grace Opon Dolphy. She is a member of the board, a government representative, and works at the Attorney General's Department, and of course is a lawyer. Please, let's put our hands together for her. We also have Mr. Peter Obri-Yabua, and he is the Director Human Resource at the Ghana Health Service, also a government representative on the board. Please, let's put our hands together for him. We have one other board member who is not present here. That's Mr. Solomon Jamra. He is also a government representative from the Ministry of Finance, and he's a member of the board. Is he here? Okay. And we also have Mr. Franklin Owusu-Ansah. He is the General Secretary of the Health Services Workers Union of Ghana, TUC. He's a union representative on the board and a member. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Yeah. I hope I've introduced everyone. So let's put our hands together for all the Board of Trustees. Your Tier 2 pensions is what it is because of their... I left myself out. So my name is Perpetual Foyampofu. I'm the president for the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, and I'm the member secretary of the Board of Trustees of HSOPS. Thank you very much. So we are going to continue the program, but at this time, I will invite the independent trustee to join the chairman on the high table, and also invite the vice chairman of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Cooper. Where is he? And the vice secretary, Mrs. Grace Opon Dolphy, to also join the high table. Thank you very much. Please, let's put our hands together for them. Yes, Honorable Minister has asked to take leave of us, and all we can say is that, Honorable Bright Rekubrobe, we are very much grateful for your time and for even coming back to sit with us when we had already permitted you to leave. So thank you. Let's put our hands together for him. Thank you so much. We'll continue with the business session as we have on the program outline. And the next item on the agenda is summary of the financial statement of the scheme and the reports of trustees and the auditors thereon for the year ended December 31st, 2021. At this time, we'll invite the representative from KHN Chartered Accountants, who are the auditors of the HSOPS, to come and do their presentation. Please, let's put our hands together for them. And we encourage you all, those of you in this hall and those of you online, please take note of all your questions. And when we get to the Q&A, we will address them all. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Felix Hazel. I represent I represent KHN Chartered Accountants. I'm here to present the audited financial statements as independent as possible. There's a problem with what we have here and what you have on the printed form that you have. So I would read from my statutory, I'm supposed to read from what the trustees have signed. So I'll be reading strictly from my reports. I don't want any legality, so please allow me to read from my reports. Health Sector Occupational Independent Auditors Report to the members of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. Opinion. We have audited the financial statements of Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme set out on pages 16 to 33, which comprise the statement of net assets available for benefits as at 31st December 2021, the statement of changes in net assets available for benefits, statement of movement in net assets available for benefits, and statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and notes to the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme as at 31st December 2021, and its financial performance and the cash flow for the year then ended in accordance with international financial reporting standards and the requirements of the National Pension Act 208 Act 766, and the Occupational and Personal Pension Regulation 201, LI 1990. The basis of our opinion: we conducted our audit in accordance with international standards on auditing. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statement section of our report. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. We are independent of the scheme in accordance with International Code of Ethics of Professional Accountants, including international independent standards. We call it a code based by the international ethics, issued by the International Ethics Standards of Accountants. We have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the code. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in our audit of the financial statements of the current period. These matters are addressed in the context of our audits of the financial statements as a whole and informing our opinion thereon. And we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. The material ones are addressed in management letter we've provided to the trust. We have fulfilled the responsibilities described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statement section of our report, including in relation to these matters. Accordingly, our audit included the performance of procedures designed to respond to our assessment of the risk of material misstatement of the financial statements. The results of our audit procedures, including the procedures performed to address the matters below, provide the basis for our audit opinion in the accompanying financial statements. Other information. The trustees are responsible for other information. The other information does not include the financial statements in our auditor's report thereon. Our opinion on the financial statement does not cover the other statements, other information, and we do not express an audit opinion or any form of assurance conclusion thereon. In connection with our audit of the financial statements, our responsibility is to read the other information and, in doing so, consider whether the other information is materially inconsistent with financial statements or our knowledge obtained in the audit, or otherwise appears in material misstated. If based on the work we have performed, we conclude that there is a material misstatement of this other information, we are required to report that fact. We have nothing to report in this regard. Sorry, please. These are the responsibilities of the trustees. The trustees are responsible for the preparation of the financial statements that give a true and fair view in accordance with international financial reporting standards and requirements of the National Pensions Act 208 Act 766 and the Occupational and Personal Pension Regulation 2011, LI 1920, and for such internal controls as the trustees determine necessary to enable the preparation of a financial statement that are free from material misstatement, whether due to error or fraud. As auditors, our responsibilities are to obtain reasonable assurance whether the financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that include our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but it's not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with ISA, that is International Standards on Audit, will always detect a material misstatement, whether when it exists. Misstatements can arise from fraud or error or are considered material if individually or in aggregate they could reasonably be expected to influence the economic decision of users taken on the basis of these financial statements. As part of our audit, in accordance with ISA, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error. Design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtain audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than one resulting from error or fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omission, misrepresentations, or the override of internal controls. We also have obtained an understanding of internal controls relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstance, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the scheme's internal control. We've evaluated the appropriateness of audit policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosures made by the trustees. In conclusion, we have concluded on the appropriateness of trustees' use of going concern basis of accounting, and based on the audit evidence obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists relating to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the scheme's ability to continue as a going concern. If we conclude that a material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw attention in our auditor's report to the related disclosures in the financial statements, or if such disclosures are inadequate, to modify our opinion. Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained up to the date of our auditor's report. However, future events or conditions may cause the scheme to cease to continue as a going concern. We also evaluate the overall presentation, the structure, and the content of the financial statements, including the disclosures, and whether the financial statements represent the underlying transactions and events in a manner that achieves fair presentation. We communicate with the trustees regarding, among other things, the planned scope and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in the internal control that we identify during our audit. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our audit opinion. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statement give a true and fair view of the financial transactions of the scheme for the year ended 31st December 2021 and the disposition of the date of its assets and liabilities, other than liabilities to pay benefits after the end of the year. In accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards and the requirements of International Pension Act 208, Act 766, and the Occupational Personal Pensions Regulation 2011, LI 1990. So that's the conclusion of our, it's signed by the engagement partner. Now the accounts itself, that one I think you have it in your handouts.
You can find them from page 20. Yeah. So you can go ahead, yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to read this page. The rest, there are notes to them that you will reference later on, and then if you have any questions to ask, we would address them. Statement of net assets are available for benefits as at 31st December 2021. The assets, bank balance, note 4, 1,425,182 for 2001, and then 4,828,893 for 2020. I'm doing a comparative for year 2021 and 2020. Held to maturity. The investment held to maturity. Note 5. 1,471,850,942, as against 991,215,285. For the available for sale investment, note 6. 8,825,759, as against 5,572,619. Fair value through the investment at fair value through they've been. What we do is that normally we assess the investments and then we put them in various categories as spelled out by the MPA. Available for sale investment that we have mentioned, fair value through P&L, 33,393,843 as against 28,697,159. TPFA, that is, there are funds that are held, pension, that were held earlier on that MPL later on transferred to the entity, to the trustees. That's what we call TPFA. Note 18, that is 592,729,633 against 592,429,186. Then you have receivables. Note 8, 85,296,285 against 83,418,562. So in total, the total assets of the entity, as I've spelled out, if you add all up, it gives you 2,193,000,000. It's billion. Oh, I said trillion. I'm sorry.
You can see the future of the scheme. You see.
It's aggregation. Billion. I'm sorry. This was a million. The other time I mentioned trillion to you, nobody drew my attention to it. 2 billion, 121,521,644 against 1,686,157,704. The liabilities, that's the short-term liabilities, are benefits payable. Note 9, you get a breakdown in note 9. 1,429,026 against 2 million for the previous year. Then administrative expenses payable, note 10. You get 2 million 936,601 against 1,973,842. That gives a total liability of 4,365,627 against 3,973,842. So in the whole thing, when you net off the liabilities and assets, the entity has total assets of 2,193,521,644 against 1,686,157,704 for the previous year. Now, we go to, those are represented by assets, the assets of the entity. That's your net value. That is the accumulated fund of the entity is the same as the total assets. So that gives us 2,189,156,017, just like the previous assets. Yes, the 2,189,000,000. Yes. Just as you see, the assets are there, and they are represented by what you have accumulated. See, the money that you have over the period, the investment. Yes. Yeah. What I'm saying is that your assets are represented by what that represents what you have. So this is what is available to be given out subsequently. You are invested in some of them, and it's going to yield you income that you can roll subsequently. We have reviewed it, and we are saying that it's a going concern, so you can continue as an entity. It is signed by the chairman, Mr. Blobly. So that ends the presentation. The rest, the notes are available. So if you have any issues relating to it, please, you can raise them up, and the trustees and us will help address them.
Okay, so thank you very much. As he sits down, the notes are in the book sent, given to you. We will publish it on the website as well for the those watching us virtually. I think it's been published there. You can always join in and then ask your questions. I'm told there are quite a number of questions. The media team will put them together, and then we will address them when we get to the Q&A session. The next speaker will just give a brief summary of the key items, and so I will hand over to Pep at this point.
Thank you, Chair. So at this time, we will invite Mr. Kofi Asumening of Enterprise Trustees Limited to do a presentation on the scheme performance update. Please, let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you very much. I would present the fact sheet. The fact sheet is a summary of information relating to the team for the year under review. Can we project it, please? Right, so our content will look at a brief summary of the scheme. We'll look at AUM and assets under allocation, some statistics regarding the scheme performance since inception, and then we'll provide some information regarding portals through which members can engage the scheme. I'll briefly start with the vision of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. The vision of the scheme is to ensure retirement income security for all health workers in Ghana. It has a mission that states that it wants to secure health sector tier 2 contributions, ensure appreciable growth, and pay appropriate lump sum benefit to members upon retirement. So that's the mission of the health sector scheme. Then I'll provide some information regarding the scheme. So the name of the scheme is the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. The scheme was incepted in November 2012. I'll bring some clarity here. So in November 2012, as the earlier presenters have indicated, we started receiving contributions from IGF contributors. Now later along the years, then we started receiving contribution from permanent staff through Controller and Accountant General's Department from August 2016. The scheme's currency is in Ghana cedi, and then the current unit price ending 2021 is 177.96. Let me once again emphasize that the scheme began with a unit price of 50 units when it commenced in 2012. Along the years, it has risen to 177.96. The entire funds under management stands a little over 2 billion. The membership of the scheme, as already indicated, currently stands at 174,959, and the membership comprises of permanent workers and then IGF members through whom their various institutions contribute for. There is a management fee for managing the scheme, and it is 1.80 per all service providers for the scheme. As already indicated, the administrator of the scheme currently is Enterprise Trustees Limited. The scheme has two fund managers, namely Delta Capital Limited and Boral Capital Advisors. The custodian of the scheme is Carl Bank, Ghana. The scheme has an auditor, and the auditor just finished the presentation. The auditor is KHN, Chartered Accountants and Financial Advisors. And let me once again emphasize that the scheme is regulated by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. I'll provide some information regarding the AUM of the scheme. The scheme began in 2012, ending 2021. The scheme currently, as indicated, has AUM a little over 2 billion. Now the graph indicated clearly gives us the trajectory in which the AUM has grown. If you want to see an average percentage growth from the inception to date, we are looking at over 8,000% growth of the AUM of the scheme. Indeed, in 2019, the scheme's AUM reached 1 billion. In a matter of 2 years, that is 2021, the AUM doubled to 2 billion and counting. I must indicate that the current AUM of the scheme is currently a little over 2.5 billion. The AUM is placed in various asset classes, and the asset classes are what is projected on the pie chart on the screen here. So the various percentages are provided. There are some in money market instruments, government securities, short-term, long-term equities, and the other asset classes as well. I'll then give a summary of how the scheme has performed. We'll look at from 2017 to 2021. Now, the blue graphs actually represent the gross return for the scheme year on year. And what we are trying to do is to compare it with the average inflation for those particular year. It is instructive to note that if you look at your blue graphs from 2017 through 2018, 19, 20, 2021, it has an upward trajectory, which indicates that year on year, the return of the scheme has increased, and that is something that is really good for the scheme. You compare it to the inflation rates, and you notice that the inflation rates are quite not the same. But however, what is most important that we continue to see the gross performance of the scheme increase year on year on. So in 2021, the gross return for the scheme was 21.25 as compared to 17.52 in 2017. We have member engagement channels where the scheme engages all stakeholders and members. We want to reiterate and clarify this information as well. The scheme has a WhatsApp line that members are able to interact directly with the scheme service providers, and that is what is presented there. The scheme also has an enquiry desk, info@hsopsghana.com, where all scheme members are able to channel through their request for responses from the scheme secretariat with the support of the scheme administrator. The scheme administrator also supports the scheme with a call center, and the call center line is 0302-634-704. All members can reach the call center line for support in terms of the scheme activities. The administrator supports the scheme also with some market centers or customer services centers. And we have office at High Street in Accra, Ridge in Accra, Airport in Accra as well. We have Tema, Kumasi, Takrady, and Tamale. And just like the chairman indicated, the scheme is also continuing its efforts to provide such services in the other regions as well. I must mention that apart from the website that the health sector has and the secretariat and the mobile office, soon the scheme will be launching its first mobile application. And I'm sure it's also another channel through which members can reach out to the scheme, assess their statements, and do other things as well. You may also contact the scheme at the GRNMA, Greater Accra Secretariat at Kolebu, if you are close to that area, to also seek some support as well. The scheme has a USSD platform which allows members to also access their statements. So you dial *714*33#. You follow a few prompts, and you are able to access your statement, update a few information, and also see some information regarding when your contributions came through. And last, the scheme has a website, www.hsopsghana.com, where you can go online. The website has member portal and an employer portal as well. So members are equally able to access their contributions. The employer for the various facilities are also able to register on this platform, assess contributions for members, and provide members some information if they require as well. So these are the available channels that are currently available for members and employers of the scheme. To end my presentation, I want to say that with health sector, the hashtag is retire with a smile. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, let's do it better for Mr. Kofi Asumenin. So, as we keep telling you, if you have any questions, note it. When we get to the Q&A session, we'll take your questions. Our colleagues who have joined us online, please use the Q&A chat box available online or the chat box and just put in all your questions. Already we have received some. We'll deal with it when we get to the Q&A session. At this time, we are going to invite Mr. Peter Obri-Yeboah, who is a member of the board, to do a presentation on the key activities that the board or the scheme was able to carry out in the year 2021. Please, let's put our hands together for him.
Good afternoon. So mine is going to be a short presentation which will highlight the key activities of the scheme during the year under review. As has been said already, the scheme is managed by 15 member trustees, 10 of which are representatives of the various unions and associations. The trustees meet once every quarter, unless otherwise determined by the chairman. But between the meetings of the trustees, a lot of things happen because pension business is a daily affair. And so there are committees that perform all the necessary functions of the scheme in between the meetings of the board. For now, we have 3 standing committees, which are the Investment Committee, the Education Committee, and the Benefit Payment Committee. Next, please. All right, so the Investment Committee, as you can see on the board, is responsible for ensuring that investments are made in a prudent manner and that the interest of the ordinary contributor is protected. This is done by ensuring that there is the availability and application of investment guidelines which are prepared based on approved investment policy from the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. They also ensure that cash and contributions that are transmitted to the scheme are put in permitted asset classes to minimize investment risks and in line with the scheme's statement of investment policy and the mission as well articulated by Mr. Kofi Asmenin from ETL. The committee also has a responsibility to review and approve investment proposals from the fund managers before investments are made. And so the fund managers, being Bora Capital and Delta, themselves do not make investments. Not until the IC sanction investment proposals, no asset of the scheme is placed in any asset class. Finally, the IC also monitor the performance of the fund managers. In fact, they have a contract with the scheme. And so there are certain things that we look at for, including the returns that they generate. And the IC ensures that everything is done in line with agreed terms of engagement. So what were some of the activities that were done by the IC in 2021? Next, please. So the IC revised or reviewed and published investment guidelines following the publication of a revised investment policy by the NPRA. And I must say that this document has been a guiding document which has helped the scheme to be compliant throughout its investment activity. As my chairman said, we never had any issues with the regulator because we have complied with all provisions in the investment policy. And this is because we have a document that is guiding our operations. Again, the IC held all mandatory meetings to review investment reports by service providers. We have mandatory meetings with our fund managers where we take reports and summaries, valuation summaries. We scrutinize all investments and then we make sure that every penny that comes to the scheme is captured on record. The IC, again, was able to organize capacity building programs for all trustees to boost their understanding on investment-related issues. As you have been told, some of the trustees are pharmacists, medical doctors, administrators, physician assistants. And so these are the officers in charge. There's the need for them to have appreciable knowledge in the field of investments. And so it has been the responsibility of the IC from time to time to organize capacity programs. And the IC did some of these in the year under review. Finally, the IC embarked on several efforts to retrieve unpaid contributions to the scheme. Sometimes my chairman will leave the theater and be working to control Accountant General to follow up on unpaid contributions. Following the banking cleanup, some monies got locked. The IC, through the fund managers, did all that it could to ensure that the funds that were locked and then later on transferred to CBG were all paid. And these were through the efforts of the committee. I will now move on to the second committee, which is the Education Committee. Next, please. So the Education Committee also has a responsibility to ensure that members of the scheme are well informed about issues relating to Tier 2 pension, and that the health sector occupational pension scheme is visible within the pension space. And so they do this by designing and developing appropriate education materials and messages, design and implement member education meetings and seminars. They also assist in the development of multimedia contents and provide support to the administrator in the management of the scheme's website and other social media handles. In 2021, the committee, in line with these responsibilities, developed, printed, and distributed flyers conveying relevant information and messages on the scheme. It successfully organized a webinar which saw hundreds of contributors from all parts of the country calling in to receive education on Tier 2 pension. All the regions and the major meetings of the associations, the AGM, the conferences, we were there to provide education. And the committee also developed and circulated SMS messages and short videos on which were circulated on WhatsApp, or providing education on Tier 2. The last committee is the Benefit Payment Committee, which has a responsibility of ensuring that retired members or contributors receive their rightful lump sum payments and in a timely manner. So their responsibility include designing and publishing relevant steps for accessing benefits, reviewing statements of contributions and return payments to ensure their accuracy, and providing informed responses to queries related thereto. In the year under review, the committee was able to develop and publish various application forms for accessing benefits. It facilitated payment of lump sum of retired members, survivors' benefits to named beneficiaries of deceased contributors, and porting of contributions of other exited members. Next, please. So in conclusion, I would say that the health sector occupational pension scheme is at its present state because of the combined efforts and contributions of these committees. And it is hoped that much efforts will be expended on the work of the committee in the years ahead. Thank you very much for your attention.
Let's do it better for Peter Obriyeboa. So we are finally at the Q&A session, and some questions have come through online. I'll take a few of those, and then we'll give opportunity for those in here to also ask questions. The first one is from Seth Amwa, and it reads, please, is the Tier 2 compulsory and detected from controller, or is being applied? So, Chair?
Okay, so you mean deducted. Is it compulsory or deducted from controller? Okay, so maybe we can take the first two questions. What I would do is, depending on the question, I will assign some of the board members to address them. Justice will take the first two, and then we will take it out.
Okay, so then Justice, the first one, let me add the second one so that you take it together. Please, can one withdraw part of Tier 2 contributions before pensions? If yes, can that be done? Nipa na ne ho akyere ne kakra na. Chroma is strong. Hot. Okay.
Okay, so let me take these questions. The first is that tier 2 is compulsory. Under the 3-tier pension arrangement, tier 1 and tier 2 are compulsory. They are always deducted at source, so i.e. the payroll office. For most of us in the health sector, the majority are paid through the Controller and Accountant General's Department. So they are the payroll office and they deduct at source. Anybody who is not on the Controller and Accountant General's payroll, wherever you work, your pay office or your account office or finance office is mandated by law to deduct and remit same to the scheme. So this is how the deductions are done, and like I said, it is compulsory. So that's the first one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then the second one, unfortunately, the way the law is positioned as of now, you cannot go in and take any funds from tier 1 or tier 2 until you have retired. The retirement could be compulsory or voluntary. In the case of invalidity, there is room for something to be done for you. Or unfortunately, if you should pass before the compulsory age of retirement, i.e. 60 years, then if you have also not gone on voluntary retirement at the time you pass, your beneficiaries that you have named per the documents that we have will be the ones who are entitled to same, unless and until a court of law varies same. So this is how things are done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the name did not come. The person asked the question anonymously. But I'm sure you are online and you are listening. You cannot have access to the money. When you go on voluntary retirement at 55 or compulsory at 60 years or invalid or you pass on, then access can be granted. But until then, you wait till your retirement. James Hodey says that from September 2021 to date, his tier 2 contributions has reduced from a certain figure to a certain figure. Every month is going down. It has gone down to a very minimal 1-digit number. So what he is asking is that, may I know why such drastic reductions in my tier 2 contributions at such an alarming rate? What's the board doing about such occurrences? That's the first one. The second one, where is the status of the January 2010 to August 2016 tier 2 contributions, and when will it be accredited to our individual enterprise trustee accounts?
Okay, so thank you very much. James, so I think you don't even need to wait for such an occasion to voice out such problems. Generally, the contribution you make is based on your salary, your base pay. And what comes to us is basically 5% of your base pay. And so if you are having such significant reduction, then and your base pay hasn't changed, then there is something wrong. But you need to note that in our scheme, usually there are two ways. We have the main base pay, contributions from the main base pay, and then there is also what we call the arrears contribution. So for instance, if you receive some form of arrears for one reason or the other, there is a promotion, there is something. The arrears that will be paid you, accrued over a period, would actually receive a different contribution or pension contribution from what you receive from your main base pay. So you may get a text message, oh, you have received 7 cedis, 50 pesos as this for your tier 2 contribution. It doesn't mean that is only for your contribution alone. It could just be for your arrears. And if you go to the website to check your statement, you may find that in the same month, you might have received 200 or 300 as well, which actually goes for your base pay. So what you need to do is check your statement. You can get it online if you are properly enrolled, or you can send a mail to the email address info at HSOPSGhana.com, or call the call center, or go to any of our offices, and it will be resolved. You could also look at your pay slip, and the answers will be there. But we do not expect that your there will be such drastic reduction if your salary has not changed significantly. And when it comes to the status of the 2010 to 2016 contributions, that is what we call the TPFA, the Temporary Pension Fund Account. What's happening is that those funds have been transferred to us a long time ago. I mean, as far back as 2017, those funds were transferred to us. We had difficulty with data, which is being worked on. By and large, we have gone very far, but there are still a few bottlenecks. That's what I raised in my statement. And so the funds have been transferred. If you look at your statement on the website, you may not find it there. The reason is because of the data challenges. We don't want to put some figures there, and then there are changes based on the data reconciliation that is being done. But if you come to our offices, we can always get you statements to that effect. And those who have retired in the last couple of years, you have seen that we have paid you based on your contribution right from 2010 to date. And before I go, there was a question about what happens to the year preceding 2010. That is still with SNIT as past credit. So if you have been working prior to 2010 and you go on retirement, the contributions there, or the lump sum supposed to be paid there, still remains with SNIT, and that should be paid to you as past credit. We'll take the next set of questions.
Okay. So Prince Imbro says, what happens when the payment of Tier 2 to the managing company delays, seeing that it would have delayed in its time of investment? I'm just reading what they have written. That's from Prince Imbro. Ideas Coleman Adato says, I would like to know why I can no longer download my unitized statement to at least know if my Tier 2 deductions is being credited to my account. I'm worried because we have paid 9 months contributions through Controller and Accountant General's Department, but it appears on the graph only 1 month has been credited.
Okay, so the last question, if Kofi is here, it would help with the last question. I mean, why he cannot get it. I'm sure. Where are you, Kofi? Yes, come close. Come close. You can sit here and let me give you the microphone. The first one was from who? Let me get it again.
The first one was from Prince Imbro. He is talking about
the
delays
yes.
in the contributions coming in.
Prince, so you are right. The delays are actually a major problem because, you know, this is a defined contribution scheme. And so whatever you bring plus your return is what we pay to you. So in the end, if there is 1 day delay, you actually lose something. And so that is why we have strongly been engaging government and the IGF facilities, to ensure they make the payment and do it on time. We have also started the idea of actually surcharging. The law allows for surcharging, and we have actually written to NPRA to support. You see, the law is such that the prosecutor authority lies with the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. And even in the last couple of months, we have actually engaged government on paying penalties for some of the delays. And so anytime we're able to retrieve some of these penalties, we would actually accrue it to you as gains made over the period. Kofi, you want to address That, okay, yeah. After the next set, we will take some questions from here before maybe we go on.
Okay, so this is for Coleman Adato. Coleman, the statements are available. I am sure we will need to engage Coleman and take him through the process of properly assessing the statement. So we'll try and engage him. But however, if he has a call center line as well, he can equally call, and then the statement will be displayed to him. Right.
All right, thank you, Kofi, for that response. This one is specific to Ms. Nan Opoku. The question is, which insurance companies have you insured the scheme's assets with? Because you said shall.
Okay. So while she's coming, maybe the next, you can get the next
one. Okay, for the next ones, I think we have already addressed them because it's still on the TPFA, January 2010 to September 2016. That was from one anonymous attendee, and then there is one also from Bernard Ej, also related to that same issue. So now you have the floor.
Okay, so the assets have been insured with Ghana Union Assurance. It's only for Ghana health sector, but for the entire bank. So the group insurance is Ghana Union. Your assets are not with Cow Bank per se. Let me explain to you. So in order to ensure that should anything happen to Cow Bank, your assets are saved. The assets are saved with a nominee company, which is duly registered with Registrar Generals. And that is to distinguish the asset of Cow Bank from that of health sector. So should Cow Bank go down today, it's only the asset of Cow Bank that will be attached. Health sector will not be part of those assets that will be affected. So that is why I said your assets are safe. So I'm not praying Cow Bank goes down, because if it does, I won't get a job. I'm also praying for my job.
Yes, we also pray.
At the end of the day, please, when you sleep, sleep in peace, because your assets are safe. Thank you.
So the assurance here is that your funds are not with any one person. And as board chair, I cannot today sign that, okay, let's transfer 50 million of the assets into my account. It cannot happen because there are clear systems and guidelines we need to follow. The auditors are here. They have given their word. They have seen the books, and they know that it is being done clearly. I would want Kofi to look at this one. How can I get my statement? I think Bernard made this statement. How can I get my statement? Just briefly look at it whilst we take some more questions from the members here.
Okay, Chairman.
Okay,
thank you. Before that, we have to give Seth an opportunity to address the question that James asked about the drastic reduction of his contributions. They've checked on the system and they have updates for James. So just hold on.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So James, if you are watching your contributions, you notice that you stated you reduced from 201.75 to 7.76 and to 3.47. But I would plead that you kindly log into your statement itself. You notice that there are arrears contributions. So 7.76 is arrears you received for October 2021. And then November 2021, you also received another one, same 7.76. And then January 2022, 3.43. Thank you very much.
Okay. So that brings clarity to what I said earlier. Thank you very much, Seth.
Okay, so as I indicated, we have various member engagement channels. We want to drive digital, so as it is. If you go online and register on the portal, you should have access to your statement. If you're unable to do that, you can walk into any of our offices, and I indicated the branches which you can enterprise trustees. You can equally go to the scheme secretariat, who has the capability to also give you a copy of your statement. You are not charged for requesting for your statement. Once you go with an ID, a copy of your statement will be made available to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So in-house, we are taking questions from in-house. If I see your hand, we'll take 5 at a time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. Kofi, please give them the mic for me. And please come to the middle. Those who want to ask questions, please, just line up so that we'll give you the opportunity.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is David Sam, Greater Accra. And my first question.
So your name is?
David Sam.
David Sam, okay.
Yes. My first question. When the website was given out for us to enroll properly and check our balances, I checked and my date of birth was correct. My date of birth was correct. So I was thinking you get that directly imported from the snake system or something. Then as time goes on, when the SMS started coming in, once in May or something, I received a happy birthday message and I noticed there was an error because I am a December born. So I quickly logged onto the system, Enterprise Trustee, and I realized that my date of birth has changed from the correct 4th December to something in May 1967. Hey. Meaning, I'll be, as young as I am, I'll be declared as a retiree whilst I'm not yet there. Let's say because I happen to be an executive and I understand the system, I was quickly able to contact you, your offices, for it to be rectified. I checked again. But what about the member who, let's say, the born before computer colleagues of mine, who will be there and then maybe the person will be 35 years before the person realizes he has been declared compulsory retired staff. What happened to such a person? Quickly, my second question is, we know the contributions are to be, they are to cushion the person when the member eventually goes on retirement. But looking at the interest that our contributions are accruing and the currently inflation hovering around 37%, what mechanisms are being put in so that our funds will be safe when eventually I retire and I want to enjoy comfortably? Inflation will not have eroded all the gains. Thank you.
Thank you. So the second question, Nana, get ready. I'll let you answer that question. Yeah. Okay.
My name is Jefferson Asari. I'm also a nurse. And my question borders on retirement, income security, and retiring with a smile. If I retired January this year and I was given 30,000, it means that in dollars I was earning $4,929, which I could buy cement of 47 Ghana cedis as at January this year. I'm giving 30,000, the same amount, which literally have gained some interest. As at this month, I'm earning $2,390.4, and I am buying cement for 66 Ghana cedis. Whilst my money has reduced by half, my purchasing power has increased almost half. So am I retiring with a smile, or I'm retiring with
Okay.
with a what?
Okay. Thank you
My
very much.
second question
Asari, for your
is,
question.
we have other colleagues who previously were with a government employee and subsequently have either entered entrepreneurship and therefore are not paying. How do they have access to the funds? We have others who have also traveled outside the country. How do they access? I want knowledge on that. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Oscar.
So can you speak up a bit? Introduce yourself and tell us your facility, if possible.
Yeah, my question is the benefits.
Sorry, your name again?
My name is Oscar.
Oscar.
Yeah, Oscar Pesci.
I have an Oscar here.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So my question is the benefits that we get at the end of the exit. What is the calculus or the actuarial science behind the benefits we get? If I go to the portal now, I can see the accumulated amount that I'm supposed to take, but I want to know the calculation behind it, so that we can cross-check to see whether we are being cheated or not. And the second one has to do with an advice from you. If someone is being given his retirement letter today, as Mr. Obre will be giving it out very soon, we want to find out what is your advice for someone to start processing his
retirement benefits.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Andrews will answer that.
My name is Stephen Kokwe. Oh, why are you looking at me, Obiri? I just wanted to congratulate the trustee members for a good job done. I know there are a lot of challenges. I believe with the will, you will be able to move on. However, I have a few things to ask. One of the question is to one of your trustee members, Oscar Emisa. His name is not in the brochure. So I want you to address that issue, why his name was not in the brochure. Number two, I also, Perpetua, please let me finish before you go. Means that you have not looked into the brochure well. Perpetua is my friend, so I will.
Okay, go ahead, we can hear.
Then the second one is that I think there's a serious delay in the payment of Tier 2. I retired in March this year. I have received my first year as at May. As I stand now, I have not received my second year. I've been to the office and the stories are not too good. I can see how frustrated some of the pensioners are going through. So I think we should look at it very well and address it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's, I think we'll take the last two and then we will address them and see what to do subsequently.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Harriet from the Health Services Workers Union. We all know this scheme started from 2012 and dependent on the IGF staff from 2012 to 2016. Meaning without IGF, it would have been very difficult for the scheme to operate. Now my question. I want to know if there are mechanisms to track the IGF contributions from the various facilities, because we, with the unions, are suffering with getting our IGF monies from the facilities. And so I want to know if Tier 2 deductions, the facilities are following the 14-day directive as prescribed by law. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harriet.
My name is...
You are taking note of some of them. We will let you. Okay. Go ahead, please.
My name is Patricia Chenebua, Health Services Workers Union. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My concern has to do with the TPFA. The chairman made mention of the fact that the database is not available. I want to find out, how did you manage to pay the retirees who have received their benefits. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pat.
Okay.
Chair, can we take another 5, or you want
I
to
think we
address?
should address these
Okay. All
when.
right.
Oh, okay. Yes, let's address these ones, and then we would. It looks like there are quite a number of them. So, yeah. So I will just start with what the last from Patricia. So thank you very much, Patricia. You're right. When you talk about the delays, it's not that the database is not available. There is no final agreement on the state of the database. You see, what happened was that these funds were paid over a period, and they were supposed to be paid into a particular pool at the Bank of Ghana. However, over time, some delays were there. And at some point, the payments were not coming. And at that point, the schemes were not in existence, or the schemes didn't have access to those accounts. It was NPRA that was manning them. So NPRA then, finally, after a number of agitations, government and the unions and the schemes came together and got a consultant who worked out and agreed on figures, together with penalties and all, and they paid on account. Now, they had to then get some consultant to be able to go back right from controller, look at what the base pay everybody received, and work it out until we get together with the interest that had accrued and all. So when you work it out, you realize that, some of the schemes, there are about 5 public service schemes, would have to transfer funds to other schemes and a host of other things. And we haven't fully agreed on it because nobody wants to be shortchanged. So there are still some little discussions. We have actually gone very, very far. There were some time, virtually every week, we're meeting on it. We've gone very far. I just need finality, then we would agree on the final data. Over the period, what we have done is, not for those who have retired to suffer, what we have done is to assume the ideal. We work out your base pay, we work out your 5%, so we know what contribution you are supposed to make. And then we use the prevailing, because that time they were using the 183-day, the 91 days, sorry. They were using the 91-day bill as well. So we've used that, we know the rates over the period, and they have worked it out. So we are able to calculate for all those who are retiring. And the same process has actually been worked out for everyone, and we feel it will be a fair distribution. However, we need clarity so that we know that all the schemes have accepted it, all the stakeholders have accepted it, and then we can move on from there. So this is the truest and the fairest view about TPFA. There is nothing we are hiding, and that is the work that is being done. So it's not that there is no data, the data is available. I would get Andrews, I ask you to address, I think, 2 questions. You would handle it, and then I'll bring in the other people.
Thank you, Chair. Nana, who asked the question regarding the 4,929 and then to 2,390. Nana, what I can tell, I know that what you are asking is, theoretically, we call it time value of money. Surely, per analysis you gave, we are in an economy where we call it the systematic risk. So it affects whatever is happening within that economy. So the trustees here cannot influence that aspect of the economy. That is the entire economy situation, which you alluded to very clearly. But what the trustee can do is what is within our purview. For example, the trustee engage in what we call the asset allocation. So we follow the MPRA guidelines and then try to distribute these assets such that we are aiming at getting the highest return with the possible minimal risks. And then the fund managers are also engaged in this, what we call the asset selection into the portfolio, which we usually like my other colleague indicated, monitor their performance. So averagely, if you look at before April, our investment return has been even higher compared to what? The T-bill rate. While the T-bill was around 13, 12, and all that, we were doing about what? 21. If you look at last year, we can see at 21%, and then, so consistently we've been very, very above, so if you like risk premium, we were doing very, very well. Now, yes, the dynamic has changed like you alluded to. So the strategy with the investment committee and the fund managers are that, yes, of course, now we have to try to rebalance the portfolio, such that we mimic the current the environment that we are in. So clearly you can see that we are saying that the TB rate is around 31%, 32%. Surely, we've locked in assets into the future. So now what we are doing is that trying to rebalance so that we keep up to what is going on within the economy. So I can say that for that one, the trustees are have been performing compared to the economy, but sometimes, like I said, there's a limit that can be done. Now, the second question you asked about even if the person travel, can he have access to the funds? What we pay the art in terms of when it comes to benefit payment is that we cannot pay Ghanaians who have traveled out of the country and they are yet to retire. Until you retire, yes, of course, we'll pay you. But foreigners who are here and want to leave completely, they can have what they call immigration benefit, that they can. But Ghanaians, you can wait to retire, then you can, access your benefit. So that is for Nana. Then the next one, the one who asks about the science, about the calculations of the benefit, the formula. Here we don't use actuarial calculations. It's purely an investment. If you look at the scheme we are practicing, it's called defined contribution schemes, which is investment-led type of scheme that we are practicing, rather than the SNIT using the defined benefit system. So here, what you contributed, that's the contribution amount you have made, added with the return that the trustee have made, which we have seen consistently that we have been above, the economic average, and then less what the expenses. And the expenses here are highly regulated. You cannot charge any arbitrary fee or something. It's highly regulated, So that is what will constitute what you get. So if you have smaller amount, you are likely to have smaller benefits. So that is when it comes to the science. Then you said your advice to a retiring person. Like the minister said, if you fail to save, probably you fail to protect yourself in the future. So for us, what we are seeing is that, yes, of course, tier 2 may not be enough all over. So you need to up your game if you can have other savings system like tier 3, or if you have a PF in your system, or find some other way so that you have a more broad, diversified portfolio as an individual. So far as you have tier 2, you should have tier 3. You should have your house in order, so you can have like both in real asset as well as financial asset. So it's up to you to be able to manage those things as much as possible. So for us, we will say that as an individual, find other means of to augment your current tier 2, because yes, of course, it may not, because it's only 5%, don't forget, of your basic salary, not your gross salary. So there's an issue there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrews. I think there is one catch to that question that was left out. Maybe Kofi would help, or ETL, any of the team from ETL. If you are you know you are retiring, maybe in the next couple of months, what advice will you give to the person by way of application for the retire? By way of claim. What should be the process? What should the person do in summary? And then the website Happy Birthday issue, can you address that one quickly?
Okay, so if you are nearing retirement, we do 3 things: post-retirement, retirement itself, and after retirement. So post-retirement, the member is required to, if you don't check your statement, to please check your statement to ensure that all your contributions have come through. Because once you do that, if there are any issues with your statement, we have ample time to do the needed corrections before you go on retirement. And just like we have said, you can walk to any of our offices to request for your statement. And there are persons who would gladly sit you down and go through your statement month on month to see whether there are any issues with your statement. Also, the benefit payment process likely is also updated on the scheme website for persons who are going on retirement, or even those who have not gone on retirement. There are some specific documents that we require from retirees. We need your retirement letter. So I'm sure once you are getting there, you'll be working towards getting your retirement letter. We need your Ghana ID card as well. Once you have this information, get it ready. Once you are close to retirement, get an application form which you can download from the website, or you can reach out to any of the HR officers. We've made it available to all of them. You can print a copy, complete. Just come to our office, submit. We can do a review for you, pending your retirement age, and then the application will be paid out to you. So that's briefly the process.
Okay, thank you. So I think Nana will answer. It's Andrews has started, but maybe Nana will add a few things by way of high inflation, yes, and then what we are doing. He would. Whilst we do get ready for the next set, then we'll just take one more set and then we'll bring the meeting to a close.
All right. Please, if you look at your page 43, can you show the slide for me? Page 43 actually demonstrates the returns on the scheme versus inflation. Yeah. And you see that the gross returns versus inflation over the last 5 years, 2017 to 2021, you've had positive real returns on the investment. It's always been outperforming inflation. It is only this year, and specifically since I think April, that we have a situation where you are investing or the fund performance is below inflation. Now, that is an exceptional circumstance that currently we are in, and we do not expect it to persist for the next 6 months. So that is turning. It's turning. If you look at the data correctly, we are expecting to have inflation coming down soon, to the extent that maybe by June 2023, you will have investment outperforming. So yes, we have currently, it's difficult to beat inflation on the overall fund, not investment that we are making. Today, just to make sure, we had about 4 million to invest last week, or was it this week?
Yeah, this week.
Chairman, please, I send it to you. Did we get 40%?
Yeah, we got 42%.
No further comment. So inflation was 37.2. We got 42% investment on the 4 million that we had to invest. So for monies that we are investing today, we are beating inflation. But previous investment, we can't do much about it. Overall, we expect that by the time you go on pension, maybe you might have 1 or 2 years over your 30 years contribution where the real return was negative. But on average, we should have more years of real returns. That don't worry about it. We look at the data and we will make sure that we beat inflation. Inflation has never been our problem, and we will beat it. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Nana. You can leave with them. I think I just address a few concerns raised by Koki the serious delays in payment of Tier 2. I think you are right. In fact, when we started in 2020 and 2020, some early part of 2021, there were a lot of back and forth, and it took a lot of engagement to be able to streamline all across the public sector schemes. And now things are better. The little challenge we have had over the period has to do with the delays in the contributions. And normally, ideally, what we would have done would be to wait, get your last contribution. So let's say you retire in December. We expect that by the end of December, you would have received your last salary. By 14th January, we would have received your last contribution. And then once you put in your application, we process it. And once we process, usually if everything is fine, within 4 to 6 weeks, we would have finished processing and would have paid you. But this December salary contribution may not come until, say, July of the ensuing year. And that is where the challenge has been. We have engaged at length, and over a period, we have seen some positive impact until maybe the last couple of months where there are major issues. I mean, we have somebody from Ministry of Finance. I'm sure they are working around it, and we really are doing everything to engage, to make sure that these contributions come on time so we can process this. Now, this is a decision the Trust Board has taken, that as soon as you put in and this was taken quite recent, as soon as you put in your application, so long as we can clearly confirm you have retired, we would go on and process your application and pay whatever we have received. Then we would wait until your last contribution comes in. So maybe if they are 3 or 4 months in arrears, we'll wait until the last contribution comes in, and then we'll process that and pay as top-up. I mean, it's more work, but we are willing to do it. That's why you have put us there. And so it's unfortunate that you've had such delays. We are working around it. We are hoping that very soon this will be reduced significantly and we will not have to burden retirees that much. I hope it answers your question. Thank you very much. Okay, we will take the last set of questions and then we would.
Okay, can we have...
Sorry?
The IGF.
Okay, IGF, Kofi. Mechanism to track IGF contributions.
Okay, so as trustees, we have found, or we are finding a way to ensure that IGF institutions register and even pay based on the speech from the chairman. You clearly notified that he indicated that it is a challenge the trustees have identified, and we have to put in a plan to ensure that facility members under these facilities are contributed for and paid for. It's been a challenge, but the plan we have put in place is to ensure that through our Pensions Express activities, we are going around the various facilities, engaging the various accountants, and we are doing reconciliations on payments and outstanding payments to ensure that they pay as well. One other challenge too is that because of the nature of their work, IGF contributors, they are not always there. Some come for 2 months, then they move on. You could get a facility who had IGF members, say, in January. In February, when you talk to them, they will tell you that all IGF members have moved on. So how do you expect to receive contributions for this particular facility? So it's a bit of a challenge, but what we are doing is that we are reaching out, and we are also encouraging them as much as possible to ensure that they pay timely, and those who we have issues with, we raise it with the board, and the board are also supporting us to also ensure that they pay on time. Some pay on time, but I can also admit that some do not pay on time. But the idea is that we will continue to engage them to ensure that all of them are paying on time. Thank you.
And I think everybody here can help us. Once you go back, let's send out the message. It is the responsibility of facilities to pay the IGF of their staff. And everybody must do the needful, because if you don't do it, the law itself can catch up with you. So, Chair, you said we are taking the next set of questions.
Just a little update, and then
I was just going to add a bit. She's mentioned one. What we should also understand is that as trustees, we don't know when somebody is engaged. So if there's a facility in a certain community and they engage somebody on the IGF payroll, until the information comes to us, we even never know. That is why we've taken the pains to work with the Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, the teaching hospitals. Letters have been sent to all of them. We are working with the HRs in all the regions and the facilities. And then we constantly write letters to remind the facilities that per the law, it's an offense that could send you to jail if you don't pay for such persons. We are also working with the unions, and we keep educating the unions, and they also share it with their members, especially the Health Services Workers Union, where we seem to have a lot of the numbers. The moment the person is employed, the employee should be empowered to follow up to be sure that even at the facility level, some of these things are being paid. When you get your salary, you should be able to ask whether your pensions have been paid. If you think you are not strong enough, talk to your union leaders so that same will be checked for you. Because if you want to rely on us as trustees alone, the truth is that we can never know when you were employed and when you exit. Then there's also this other bit where persons are on the IGF payroll. At some point, they are migrated onto controller. When you get onto controller, it is easy for us to track. But up until that time, if there are any gaps, sometimes we don't know when you were employed. So assuming we have, say, only 2 contributions before you got onto controller, we might never know that probably you were employed 2 years earlier. Because the controller data will just give you the point at which you went onto the controller payroll. So we all urge all our managers, please, the IGF staff are as any other staff. The law does not separate anybody from paying what is due for a particular employee. Let's do that, please.
Thank you. So we will take the last 3 questions and then, very quickly.
Yeah,
you mention your name, facility, and then you go straight to your question, please.
Yes, please. Mine is a very small question, if I should say so.
So your name is?
My name, please. My name is Sheikh Dr.
Sheikh.
Ibn Sana.
Okay.
I'm a gospel representative. I'm from Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Okay. The motto is that HSOP, you retire with a smile. Somebody asked a question concerning the prevailing economic conditions and the wave that is affecting us. My concern is that as a health worker, the global environment is hitting the Ghanaian worker seriously, such that if my salary were to be, say, dollar equivalent $700 or $800, currently the same salary is about $350, but I'm still working. What about my colleague who has retired and is supposed to be smiling? His contribution is fixed. The current wave comes and his actual lump sum in dollar terms is about $100 or $150.
Yeah, we get that. So
is
can you
it
go
possible,
to your question?
my question is it possible for pensions, individual pension, to be locked up and ring-fenced in dollar accounts so that it doesn't affect me if I'm on retirement? I know my money is $300, $400, nothing will affect me.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Next, please.
Thank you. My name is Linda.
Linda.
From the Health Service Workers Union.
Sorry, Linda from?
Health Services Workers Union.
Okay.
I have a little concern. It goes to the team from CalBank.
Okay.
So my facility has a lot of challenge at the banking hall when we go to make the payments for the IGS staff. a lot of the times when they get to the banking hall, the cheat system that the banking hall uses, the payment of tier 2 seems not to be on the list of transactions in the banking hall. And a lot of the times, those at the reception area also don't seem to have any knowledge about it. So it causes a lot of frustration sometimes. And then a lot of the times too, when they get there, the network seems to be always off. So please, if that can be checked for us. We experienced this especially from the East Legon branch.
From the
East Legon branch.
East Legon branch, okay. Thank you very much. Let the next person come in. Thank you, Linda. None will address those.
My name is Eden Awandago, Emergency Medical Technician Association of Ghana under Health Workers Union. I want to find out if the investment committee, it will be possible for them to venture into housing projects, because we all realize that everybody is talking about whatever you may take home at the end of your retirement, depreciation may take place. But if it's ventured into housing project, maybe members can be able to be paying something small towards it. Even if they default, the lump sum can be used to set it off.
Thank you very much. Yes, next person.
Okay, I am Obin Asmani from Mental Health Authority. And I have 3 issues. First, some of us of late, we don't receive the prompt again. An attempt to also access the portal to check our statement is always a challenge. So if you can...
If you say getting your statement is a challenge, what do you mean?
Initially...
Alert, I got that. But
yes, initially I used to get the prompt. And I was also able to access the portal to check my statement. But these days, the prompt does not come.
Yes, we get that one.
Visiting the portal too, it keeps on turning round the whole day.
Okay.
It never gives
keeps on turning round. Okay, so thank you very much. Now we get your question.
That is one. The other issue is, do we still have TPF with government? Because on the statement, I saw TPFA for 2020 and then 2021. And I don't know whether it was a transfer or new remittance received from the government. Then some of the information we are getting from our office is that till you receive your Senate, you can't access your tier 2. And we don't know whether it's true or not. So if you can clarify it for us.
Hello, I'm Dr. Dazi.
Okay, Dr.
Deputy Chief Nursing Officer, Ladadi Kotopon. Yes, I'm concerned with the administrative cost. There was an astronomical increase, about 1 million. What can we do to reduce it so that the benefits payable will also increase for us? Otherwise, money...
Doctors, I want to understand you.
Yes.
You understand. Okay.
The financial report. Yeah, the report. The report. Higher administrative costs.
Okay, so Pep will answer that, so that's beautiful.
All right.
Okay, next one. Thank you, Doctors.
Thank you. My name is Simon Atiga.
Simon.
Anes.
Okay.
I want some clarification. If, let's say, one works for 2 institutions, let's say the government of Ghana and a private institution, both pays the pension benefit of the pension, they pay the person's contributions. So is it 5% of both institutions, or it is 5% all sum up the contribution? That is what I want to.
Okay, that's fine.
understand.
I'll start
Yes.
with yours.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. You know, both institutions will not even know you are, and they don't commingle. Each, you can sit down. Each institution, I mean, tier 2 is mandatory. So each institution is supposed to have a scheme. A scheme. So usually they are corporate trustees, they are employer-sponsored schemes and all of that. Each institution is supposed to have a scheme. And so normally the public sector, you realize that it will be paid, if it's from controller, directly, let's say, to us. If you work permanently in a private facility, they will also pay your tier 2 to whichever institution is managing your tier 2 there. When you retire, you can go for both. If you stop one and you are working with the other, you can actually elect to port from the other to one. And so they can run concurrently. They can run concurrently. That should not be a problem. Administrative cost, Pep will answer that. And then no prompt, ETL will come in.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think what she was referring to was the increment. But just to assure you, administrative costs and costs to fund managers and all that is embedded in the law. There are specific rates that are captured in the law, but in terms of the services we receive from service providers, we always negotiate. So for administrative expenses, in terms of what the scheme administrator does, that is on one side. And then, of course, when it comes to investments, there are some expenses that we also incur. And in terms of payment of staff and all of that, those are also captured in there. I think that settles it. But sometimes, as much as the AUM grows, that administrative cost also goes up. As much as the AUM grows, the administrative cost goes up. But just to also assure you that when the contracts we have with the service providers expire, we always sit down and negotiate with them. And we are very mindful of the quantum of the AUM and in terms of cost. So you are covered. Don't worry too much.
The other reassuring component is the TPFA component, which is the running TPFA component. Because I told you all the issues that I mentioned earlier, we are not paying anyone fee on it. So the running TPFA of over as it's speak now, about 600 million thereabout, is sitting there without any fee being paid on that. And so we're doing everything possible to reduce administrative expenses as much as possible. But that notwithstanding, the scheme also needs funds to be able to expand. We're talking about moving to other regions. We're talking about organizing events like this, and all of this require raising some funds to be able to get the work done. Okay, Kofi and Co would come in. Then we would take the dollar. You would handle the dollar. That's okay.
Okay, so the point is that if there's no contribution, there's no update. If there's no update, there's no SMS. Please, is it clear? Okay, so basic. Okay, so when your last contribution comes, then we can do the update and you can receive SMS. But the contribution has lagged for some time now, just like Chairman indicated. So, so if it's over 2 years, then it's a different situation. We would have to speak with you, look at the numbers, and then look at it again. Okay, that's it in terms of the contributions. I'd also engage you. The system occasionally have some few dime times, just like all systems are, but it's working fine. It depends on also the application you are using. So normally when we go out and then we educate our clients on our staff engagement, we actually teach the respective HR persons on the applications that are optimal in using the platform. So we would engage you and find out exactly what your situation is, and we can address your concern for you. Thank you.
So this is to alert all members that whenever you have challenges, reach out to us to the various contacts that have been provided, the call center, the email, there are so many portals, or walk to any of our offices. Those in Accra can come to Zoti, Kumasi, you can go. They will share the locations with you, and your concerns will be addressed. Before we come to the dollar housing.
Thank you, Chair. That is the one who asked about the dollar. He said, housing. Okay. The housing. He said, if the investment, is it possible to invest in housing projects? Yeah, the current investment guidelines that we are operating actually have a particular asset class called alternative assets. And under this alternative asset class, we can invest in what we call direct housing, we can invest in private equity, we can invest in private debt. So, per the guidelines, yes. But in the guidelines, there are a lot of, some level of trying to safeguard those investments. So, we are still waiting for clarity, especially because he said MPI would have come up with some level of clarity when it comes to direct investment in housing and all that. Yes, when you look at the guidelines, it says that yes, before we can invest in that, the value of the property should be above 25 million, and we should be able to partner with a government, with the banks, and even have a government agency as part of it. So yes, of course, the guidelines provide that. However, the clear clarity is yet to be given. So yes, the guidelines allow for investment into housing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. So, basically, it isn't that straightforward. And you realize that that's a very risky area to go. We do not want to come here next year and tell you that, 55 million of your money has gone down the drain because of some investment we did that went bad. And so we want NPRA, we're working with NPRA to streamline the event. Fortunately now, a few alternative investment issues are coming up, things like REIT and all, which the board has actually, in the light of the current circumstances, sanctioned a committee to be looking into it. And so whenever we get a prompt that it is right, we would pursue it. But for now, this is what we would do. Just quickly, the dollar, Justice to say a few words on the dollar. Oscar. Okay, you go ahead.
Okay, let me just say a quick one on the housing and come to the dollar. What the law permits straight from the word go is that you can use your tier 2 as a collateral for a primary mortgage. That is an individual's decision. So because you have tier 2 funds, the law says you can use it as a collateral for that. So that is another thing that you can do. But the truth is that all these things are also not done in a vacuum. We operate in a very regulated environment. The MPRA is very strict because nobody wants pension funds to go down the drain. So whatever the scheme does, we'll have to make sure that the MPRA has provided the baseline regulations. That is why our statement of investment policy has to conform with the investment guidelines as prescribed by the MPRA. So we always will have to go with that approach. Now the dollar. I think that we should separate two things. One, like I stated, this is a highly regulated industry. As we speak, the MPRA guidelines that were gazetted, the latest, last year, and then the current SIP, or Statement of Investment Policy for the scheme, both do not allow direct investments in dollars. So, i.e., you go and purchase dollars from, say, the black market or something. If you do that, the regulator will come at you because you'll be operating outside the provisions of the law. And that is an infringement that any of us as trustees could even suffer the ultimate, i.e. go into jail for those bets.
I think that's clear.
Let's get that clear. 2, if you are a finance person or an investment banker, you realize that if you should work out what has happened over the period, let's say the last 5 to 10 years, you realize that what the rules permitted us to do each year actually generated better returns than holding the dollar. It is this current condition we find ourselves in, so let's say this year, where the systematic risk, as Andrew was trying to say, this is something that is outside the control of the pension funds. If you have any questions, the best will be the managers of the economy. They've told us all kinds of things. But for us, what we intend doing is that at this point, we make sure that the baseline investment principle that we all work with, the real return, which is the gross minus inflation, we always make sure we beat it.
Okay.
If you want to work out dollars, then I can also ask a simple question. At the beginning of the year, if let's say your take home was say 6,500 cedis, the dollar was 6.5, so $1,000. If you were paying 5% of $1,000 to us, you'll be getting a certain figure. Now, at this point, it is going at 13, but your salary is still 6,500. What it means is that you are now at $500. So if you are paying 5% of it, you realize that there's even been a drop in what you were contributing, because the earlier one would have given you 50, this will give you 25. So you should understand that the dynamics don't work like a straight line.
Yeah, I think the question has been answered. Thank you.
And let's hold ourselves. The trustees will do their best for us.
I think the question has been answered. Thank you very much. I mean, if you earn dollars, you will definitely get in dollars, but we don't earn dollars anyway. Yes, none will handle. Any of the trustees who wants to answer any of the questions here, let me know. Yes, Nan, go ahead.
So for the lady who mentioned the challenges, I want to apologize for the inconvenience caused, but I'll take down your details and then we'll look into it. So I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so Nan, you know I'm going to pursue this. You know it. So as and when you get these problems, also let us know. Because this helps, the feedback helps us to be able to keep our service providers on their toes. Just before coming, yes, you can't access tier 2 until you retire. So that is not true. Initially, I think when we started, we were asking for the SNIT slip as one of the requirements, but now we have stopped. And so it's not true that you cannot access your tier 2 if you have not accessed your SNIT. We are independent organizations, and we are doing everything. We only bring in SNITs when we have disparities, sometimes date of birth disparities and other challenges. That is the only time we bring it in. So it's not true. We are independent. Everyone is doing its own thing, and that we are not linked to SNITs in any way. I think we would just take a few questions from the online, and then we would bring it to a close. We've gone
Thank
past
you, Chair. Before I go on, I think there was something about Oscar's picture missing. Apologies. It's an omission from the end of the printers. We really have to investigate, because you all know all the pictures were sent, but we will look at it. All apologies to you. So, Kokwe, we've answered that question of yours. Thank you. The bit about the online, there's a question about, may I know the reason why our tier 2 has not been allocated for the past 8 months? The point is, you will see it on your pay slip that deduction has been done, but the money has not reached the scheme. It hasn't reached the scheme, so we cannot allocate it to your contribution. So please take note. How do we get the financial report for those of us on the online? So it will be on the website. I think it's already been placed there. If it's not there, it will be put there so that you can all access it. How do I update my Tier 2 pension records? Kindly visit the HSOPS.com platform. You see member portal. Go there and you have the opportunity to update your records. And it's very, very important. You may have entered the service, you were single, now you have children and the rest. You need to go there and update your records, especially on your beneficiaries. Nobody knows tomorrow. What assurance can you give us that the money will not be borrowed from government? This one, I'll leave it. Thank you for, no. Okay, so most of the questions here have already been answered. The bit about the TPFA and the rest, it has all been addressed. How long does it take for one to receive his or her Tier 2 pensions? Once you put in the application, maximum of 1 month, it is processed and you receive it. And there's a question here about somebody says, I retired in April 2022. Do I belong to what is happening? If you retired in April 2022 and you have not applied for your Tier 2 pension contributions, then please do apply so that you can take your benefits. If you've already been paid your benefits, then just enjoy listening to us because you have received your benefit already. Chairman, I think I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. We have gone very far. There are quite a number of things that have gone on. I think it's been a very engaging session we've had. You've been very good audience, both those joining us. Yeah, we've had very engaging sessions. Those joining us both virtually and those of us who have been here, you have sat through the sessions, the opening and the business session. I want to applaud you all very much. Let's clap for ourselves. Let's clap for ourselves. This maiden one has been very successful, and as we said in my speech earlier, this doesn't end it. We would continue to engage you, and we'll continue to organize many such. We want to appreciate the auditors for the good work done. They've been with us for a long time, and they have been very, over the period. So thank you very much for the audit, and then thank you to our service providers. So before we move on, I would want to also mention that we have the Pension Express outside. We have this Pension Express outside, and there are some people there who can help you address your concerns. The van will be coming to your facilities, will be coming around. Whenever you have occasions and you want us to come and help, you can. Once you'll be able to mobilize yourself, we would send either board members, send people from the secretariat, send some of our service provider administrators, and they will come and talk to you. They will come and help you put yourself together and be able to enroll your people where necessary. And so I think very soon we'll bring the session to a close. Would hand over at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Chairman started with the vote of thanks, but somebody has been assigned to give the vote of thanks. So at this time, I'll invite Mrs. Grace Opondolfi, who is the Vice Member Secretary of the Board, to give the vote of thanks. Please, let's put our hands together.
The Chairman and Board of Trustees of the Health Sector and Occupation Pension Scheme, Directors of health agencies, leadership of the health sector labor unions, service providers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am honored and privileged to give a vote of thanks at the close of the MAIDEN Annual General Meeting of the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. On behalf of the Chairman and Board
of Trustees of the HSOPS, I wish to thank God Almighty for a successful MAIDEN annual general meeting. Without him, we would not be here. And I want us to put our hands together and appreciate God. I'd like to thank the honorable ministers, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, who took their time off their busy schedules to attend this MAIDEN AGM. They are not here at this moment, but you want to give a round of applause for them. I'd also like to thank the directors of the health service agencies and the leadership of the health sector labor unions for ensuring that their members attended this MAIDEN annual general meeting. I'd like to thank the service providers who have provided their unflinching support for the HSOPS and all our activities to ensure that the scheme grows. Finally, I'd like to thank the Education Committee and the Enterprise Trustees Limited for organizing this annual general meeting. Please, they have done a yeoman's job. Put your hands together for them. Lastly, I'd like to thank you. You've sat here for close to 3 hours. You've made this AGM lively. We have learned a lot from you. You have learned a lot from us. And we are happy. For those of you who are online, thank you too. God bless us all, and long live the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme. God bless you.
HSOPS. Hey, you've forgotten already. HSOPS, retire with a smile. HSOPS, retire with a smile. Going back, if you forget anything, as for this one, don't forget. When we talk about the Health Sector Occupational Pension Scheme, it's all about helping you to retire with a smile. Okay, at this point, we are about closing this annual general meeting, and we'll invite Reverend Piasa. He started us with an opening prayer, and he will close us off.
Shall we please be on our feet as we pray? Our Lord and Master Jesus, we thank you this afternoon for your grace. We thank you for your presence. We thank you for being with us and steering affairs for the success of this program. We pray in the name of Jesus that as we live to our various destinations, you will be with us. You will protect and guide each and every one of us to wherever we are going. We pray in the name of Jesus, committing the leadership once again into your hands, O God, that you see them through even as they prepare to lead a group, so that next year when we meet like this, O God, we shall have every cause to thank you and to praise you. We bless you. We give you glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. So lunch is served. It's packed lunch, so you just pick your pack and then off. And all other things will reach out to you later. Thank you so much for coming. Board of Trustees with service providers, we are taking a picture, please. And the union representatives that came, we'll take a picture with you too, please.